Business and Growth section here at Yandex Hall. I'm feeling kind of nervous because it's the first event that I produced at this venue, and unfortunately I didn't have a time to hop on the plane and get to Yerevan in time, but shout out to the team that made it happen. I'm sure you're gonna love it. Today's headline is Beyond Borders, Navigating International Growth. And we have a dream team of speakers to cover that topic. We have Edgar, we have Shushan, we have Gurgen, and they're gonna cover market expansion strategies, communication strategies, and how to survive with a startup in this wild life. So first we're gonna have Edgar, then we're gonna have Shushan, and then Gurgen. We're gonna have also a networking session after the last speaker. But right now, please prepare to hear out Edgar. He's gonna cover market expansion strategies based on his experience at Galaxy Group. Please buckle up. Prepare your questions because we have a Q&A after each presentation, and enjoy the ride. Edgar, you can take it from here. Enjoy, guys.
Thank you to Alexei for presenting me, introducing myself. I will do myself later on, but first of all, let me welcome you here at this very nice place, office of Yandex. Thank you, Yandex, for organizing this kind of events. Let's say thank you to Yandex. So I will ask to put my presentation. It is not shown on the big screen. Can you make it? Okay, let's start. So, as I mentioned today, I will talk about market expansion strategies based on experience of the Galaxy Group of the companies. So, for where I should post to click laser works, but it doesn't move slides.
Ժողովուրդ ջան, վերևում մեր մոտ կլիկերը չի աշխատում։ Կարաք դզեք։
Կարաք թերթեք, ես next slide ասեմ, տենց փոխեք, если что. Okay. So, for those who doesn't know about me, I am a strategy and innovation director at Galaxy Group of the companies. Also, I have a long experience of teaching at different universities, different topics. Recent my interests are mainly located in company strategies, digital transformation strategies, business development, and so on. So it's work now? It's working now? Okay. So here we go. So my expertise mainly lies in strategy, organizational development, and corporate innovation, as I mentioned. For the rest of the detail, you can visit all the social networks that you can see here. So anyway, who doesn't know about Galaxy Group of the companies? Next slide, please. Okay. So Galaxy Group of the companies is one of the biggest taxpayers of Armenia. It includes diversified businesses in industries, starting from commercial real estate, entertainment, importation and production, real estate, and telecom. You can see here very well-known brands like Ucom, Yerevan Mall, All, Pandora, Time, Kino Park. All of these companies are in Galaxy Group, the company's portfolio. So as you can see, we have a very wide and diversified portfolio. And here we go. We want also to expand our portfolio. Let's agree at first. Next slide, please. Okay. So let's agree on main terms. What we understand saying market expansion. Saying market expansion, we mainly mean if the company wants to expand its operations, products, or services into new customer segments or geographic areas, including other countries, or even engaging in new business operations. Because expansion also means expanding your portfolio. If you're expanding your portfolio, so you can include in your portfolio also other businesses from other directions. So this is just to agree on the main terminology. Next slide, please. So why business is trying to expand and why we are trying to expand as a company, as a Galaxy Group? First of all, it is a saturation of the market because in Armenia we have a small market and it is very saturated in different fields. So that's why by our operations, we also want to go outside of Armenia to tap on new markets and new opportunities. Of course, it has also purpose of increasing revenue and profitability. And another thing that is very important also during recent years, this is diversification of the risks, because doing business in Armenia, it's quite risky, became risky during last several years. So also to diversify your portfolio and diversify your market, diversify your revenues, you need to tackle on other countries as well. Also, if you are tapping on underdeveloped markets, you have low competition there. So you have opportunity to develop your market also in this direction. So be more competitive in less competitive markets. It's access to new resources and new talents. It's not less important for the business. And of course, if you have good positions and experience in one field, you can also use this experience in other fields as well. So for example, moving from one segment where you have very good experience to neighboring segment, where you can use your experience that you accumulated in previous sector. What to consider when you're expanding your business to other markets? So at first, we as a Galaxy Group, we do a huge research. You're considering market conditions, market size, market needs, market maturity. We do a research. If this is a new sector, or if it is a new country, we want to enter a new country. So we are doing very big, huge research. It's related to the focus groups, surveys at different levels. So this is very important. This is very important to know the market where you want to enter at first. You need to know your competitors. Who are your competitors? What is their advantages and how you can compete with them. Of course, you need to know also legal obstacles that you have or legal opportunities, considering taxation regimes, considering some legal regulations that oblige you to comply. For example, I can say that when we entered the Belarus market with one of our businesses, Time, we learned that in Belarus there is a regulation that stipulates in shops have the portion of the local production. So you can imagine Time, where we sell watches and jewelry, to find a local companies to represent their brands in our shop. It was very few brands that can be represented at the same level in our shop. That's this is the regulation of the government, so you need to comply with this. Cultural considerations, also, I will talk a lot about that in other slides. Staff acquisition, localization resources. This is very important part because you can't enter in the market with the same rules, with the same conditions, and with the same behavior that you operate, for example, in Armenia. It looks like neighboring countries, Armenia and Georgia. It looks like the same. But in terms of consumer behavior, it's totally different markets. Yeah? You cannot use the same instruments that you use in Armenia, in Georgia. It will not work in Georgia. So you need to have the local people, local culture, and you need to localize your product, your service. And of course, you need to also understand what is the digital transformation at this country, at this sector where you're entering. Because it depends also the culture, it defines also the culture, what kind of culture they have at the digital place, digital space. So from consideration factors, let's move to the entry strategies. Also what we utilized in our portfolio of Galaxy Groups. So what kind of entry strategy? In general, we have several entry strategies. It is the exporting, it is licensing and franchising, it is joint venture, merger and acquisition, and greenfield investments. So let's go each direction, entrance strategy separately using our experience. IU Networks is the company that in our portfolio that it is IT company that do mainly e-government solutions. 10 years ago, IU Networks did tax and customs system, e-government system in Armenia. And we have learned how to do this. We transferred this to the product and started exporting to this product to other countries. As shown here, currently, IU Networks is doing different projects in other countries: Zimbabwe, Micronesia, Bhutan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan. So all in these countries, we are selling our e-government solutions. And this is strategy that you utilized. So we prepared product, we learned how to do this product, we packaged this product, and we're starting to sell, exporting this product in other countries. So this is specifically, I brought the example of the IT company, because many IT companies in Armenia, they don't have their product to sell. They're just selling their time, their coding time. And it is very important to have your own product that you can export in other countries. So we need to learn, we need to tap on this opportunity that we are doing in local market. We should learn on it and try to export this product in other markets. And this is a good example. Imagine Armenian company in Zimbabwe. Yeah? I believe you can't imagine that. Other example on moving inside of Armenia from one sector to other. And here I will talk about cultural specifications. Bringing Pol in Armenia, which was the new direction in our portfolio. This is licensing and franchising model. We brought Pol in Armenia. We had a very long negotiations with them. It took years. Why? Because we didn't want to have the same concept they're proposing to each and every country. We said if we are doing it localized for Armenian market, either we are not doing this otherwise. To what we came? After long negotiations and many calls, many discussions, many visits, many contract revisions, many design revisions, we came to the concept of Abovian 8, currently located on Abovian Street, yeah, concept, which is totally different that you can find in other countries of Pol. Yeah, if you've seen Pol in other countries, it is totally different concept. Why? Because we worked very carefully on the localization. We understood, we know the market, we researched the market, and we understood that the Pol, as it has the very high, not very, but the high price tag. In Armenian market, it will not work in a concept that Pol working in Europe. It needs to have more expensive look. It needs to have more expensive service. It needs to have another concept. That's why we designed and developed concept of the Pol that you currently can see. So localization makes sense. Have you been in Pol Tbilisi? It's look the same or it's totally different? It's totally different. Yeah, it doesn't. We have only one location because it doesn't spread its business. Now operating almost 2 years, we already have 5 locations in Armenia, if I'm not mistaken. 4 or 5 locations, yeah. So we tapped on the localization, we did our homework, and we succeed. In franchise model, I can bring another example, but this is newly developing project. With the time watch and jewelry shops, we are exporting now our concept in a franchise model in Middle Asia. Yeah, we already opened our shops, Time Watch and Jewelry, in franchise model in Middle Asia. So this is good example. Another example of expansion with the merger and acquisition. In 2009, Ucom started its business as a fixed internet provider in Armenia. But when Ucom entered the market, it made a digital revolution in its sense, because internet prices dropped 10 times after Ucom entered the market, because before that it was like kind of semi-monopoly situation. So in operational, with several years of operation, we understood that only operating in fixed market, it will narrow our business. So we decided to expand on mobile services as well. And we received the license from the government to provide mobile services. At that time, there was 3 operators in Armenia: Orange Armenia, MTS, and Beeline. The smallest operator was the Orange. And when Orange learned that we received a license for mobile services provider, they approached us. They approached us saying there is no room for 4th player in the market. Let's do strategic alliance. Let's do a merger. We started negotiation, we started talk with them, and at the end, transaction deal moved to the acquisition of Ucom, of Orange by Ucom. So this is the story how business of the fixed market of Ucom expanded to the mobile market as well. This internally. Moreover, Ucom became local player in this market. How? In 18th, Ucom was providing around 30 to 40% of the internet traffic of the Iran. Yeah? Can you imagine Iran, the biggest country in the region, and Ucom that is providing 40% of its internet usage. So we became a big player, not only in Armenia, but also local in the region. As a greenfield investment, I will bring here another example of the time watch and jewelry market, watch and jewelry shops. Opening our branches in Georgia. You can see time logo in Georgian. It took a very long time to work, to understand Georgian market. We had to localize our team. We had to work with the local market. We had to work with the local staff. And now, can you imagine? We have more time shops in Georgia than in Armenia. So, expansion also works in a way that you have to learn. We learned very important things from the Georgian market. We learned that digital transformation there going much faster than in Armenia. And we used this experience developing digital products also in Armenia. So, let me summarize what we have learned and what is main insights that you can take here from here today. First of all, research the market and identify local needs. This is must do that many businesses in Armenia are just missing. Many businesses in Armenia do not consider this is as mandatory thing to do than you entering the market. We know the market. Many businessmen say, I know what client wants. I know what needs to be done. But after several mistakes, they understand that you need to learn more about your client to work with them. So, first of all, do research and know your client, understand your client. Insight number 2, follow national traditions and habits. I remember the day of opening the pole in Armenia. One of the managers from France was here locally. And the first day, the pole opened. And at 7 o'clock, he said, we're closing the cafe. We said, how you can close at 7 o'clock cafe in Yerevan? We don't care. It's in our regulations. We have to close for the first 5 days of opening any restaurant. You should close earlier than usual. We said, it's impossible to close in Armenia your first day at 7 o'clock. You understand that people already seen advertisement. People already learned from their colleagues. At the morning they saw poll is opened. And after work, they coming to test. They're coming to see what is it. And you can't close your restaurant at 7 o'clock. He said, no, we doesn't care. It's our regulation. So we find a way to manage this situation. We postponed the closing for a couple of hours. But another case, the clients are in restaurant sitting and he's saying we should close the restaurant. So, okay, but people sitting there drinking coffee, how we can close? No, the service people should go to them and say they'll be closing and invite them to go out. We said, no, we're not going to do that. And you know why, yeah? Restaurants in Armenia is usually opened until last client will leave the restaurant, yeah? They're never coming and saying, you know, we should close the door so you have to go. So this is local traditions and local national habits and national specifics that we have. We should understand and learn this. Another case, case of Kazakhstan. We did research of the Kazakhstan market for entering with the time there, but we understood that it will not work in their market. Because in Kazakhstan traditions, making gift, which is not a gold, it is not a good thing. Yeah? If you're gifting gold, you're respected. If you're gifting not the gold, it's something that is jewelry that is not gold, so okay. We will remember that. Yeah? Insight number 3. Local specifics into implementation of the local specific into the business model. This is very important in the time of the digital transformation. Because if you're entering new market, where is the digital habits and digital transitions are well developed, you have to adopt. You have to implement these products in your service. For example, we tried to implement locally application of the poll. Poll has the application that you can do. We researched the market, but we understood that most probably this investment will not gain any kind of output for us, making this application, localize this application and do that. So that's why we don't have here locally Poll Armenia application. So this is very important to implement these kind of things in your business model. And insight number 4, consider local labor market. You cannot expect that Armenian will work like French. And the Georgian will work as Armenian. It is different things. So you need to adopt the culture of management to the local staff and the local labor market. This is very important. So I used my time, I believe. So I will stop here and say thank you. Do we have time for questions or no? Please. We have mic there, sorry.
In case of Cofix, I guess you did some research. That's why you decided to launch application, right?
Yeah.
So, as I'm not mistaken, Cofix is the only one, yes, in this business that has application. Am I right? And how you found that app is important in this case?
It is different segments. Since the Cofix is mainly oriented to the younger generation, the students, Generation Z, Generation Alpha or younger population, they are mainly digitally native.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why decision of implementation of the Cofix application in Armenia was made, which we cannot say about Poll customers. They are mainly mid and high aged people, which who are not so digitally advanced, and also it is not common for them to use application for restaurants.
So your expectations about the usage of app is okay?
For Cofix,
because
yes.
I also downloaded. No, I'm not in Generation Z.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't use it. I just download it to see what they are doing.
What's there?
Yeah, what's there. So, but I don't use it.
I'm teaching at university, Slavonic University, and close to the university there is a Cofix opened recently. And I can say that students are using this application. They're sitting in the auditorium, they're ordering their coffee,
In advance. Yeah.
In advance.
Yeah.
And they're, during the 5 minutes of the break, they can going there, taking their coffee and coming back.
And second question concerning Cofix. Sorry for these questions. I know that the format you have here in Armenia is not the same that exists in Russia. I have been in Moscow. I myself did some small research before Cofix entrance to Armenian market. So what was the main purpose of opening Cofix in this format? Not the same that they have in Russia.
Again, it is localization. We did the research. We understood that the concept that working in Russia will not work well in Armenia because local people like to sit. Yeah, they want to take coffee, sit a bit, sip, discuss something, and then leave. This is the concept that we used here, which will also diversify us from other competitors that is, again, have the take-away coffee. And you can notice that after introduction of this concept, our competitor did the same. They did the same concept, shop in the same concept, take-away coffee shop.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you for the great presentation. I just wanted to ask one question relating to the research process. Which kind of research tools do you use across various markets? Because you said that Galaxy Group of companies are spanned across various regions and markets, to gather all those insights which you use in your strategy, some of which you shared in your presentation. Thanks.
Of course, this is traditional ways of the research. So this is desk research at first, understanding the economic conditions, market size, and so on for all the market where we are, or the sector where we are going to enter. Secondly, we're doing the survey to understand behavioral things, yeah, to understand the local needs, local thinking of the people, and of course, going more deeper, this is also focus group discussions that to understand, to test our hypothesis on the ground.
Okay, so both qualitative and quantitative ways work, and it's particularly in Armenia, just how it works. Sometimes it's really hard to mine information here. Does the reality and expectation or this hypothesis work at the end in the business processes?
In Armenia, it is very difficult to find any information in specific sectors, yeah, because all the sectors are very close. They don't publish any information. So the main way to understand the market is to try to request kind of information from tax inspection, from different sources that import to see export-import data for collecting the information, demographics, but the main source, of course, it is the survey.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. There's no questions. So we have Shushan here, who will do great presentation. I will introduce Shushan. She is a co-founder and CEO of the Axel Mondrian company. It is Shushan. I know Shushan. I know Shushan a long time, and I will say that most knowledgeable and most dedicated person to Armenia, number one. So welcome, Shushan.
Merci, Edgar. I'm very much humbled to hear these words. Thank you for your time. Basically, I'm not this typical type of a speaker that is here to motivate you, because typically what I receive, or most of the time when I'm receiving feedback from people who are participating in sessions, they are saying either we are depressed or we have answers. So I hope I will be able to share answers with you, because, well, depression is obvious, like not a good idea for today. Basically, we'll be speaking about drama-free market entries. But for starting to speak, we need to understand, at least I I'm very much willing to understand whether any of you have tried ever to plan a market entry in different place other than yours. Can you please say aye? Okay, so now the next question. How many of you are founders of any brand or company? Say aye. Founders, okay. You are, guys. At least I know. So tell me, because I really need to receive this from you, what are the scariest things that you have heard when considering new markets or places? So imagine some of you have moved to Armenia and doing an operations or starting a business venture or considering something new. What are the scariest things that you hear? Okay, number one, you don't know the market. What else? It will not work here. Okay, what else? Yeah, exactly. Cultural difference. What else? What is it? Okay, political relations. Language issues. Okay. So legal issues as well, right? Regulations, which means so. Yeah, here it says business integrity. I don't have a slide with my face, basically, because I thought that, well, if you have registered, basically I hope that you've clicked the link and you have read the profile, which says that I've been living and working in different countries and places, and I have cool degree from Oxford, you see, and I'm somehow qualified to speak about things that is about market entry. But I wanted to highlight for you the biggest fears that usually local people or consultants are sharing with those who are initiating or changing their place or moving or considering something new. And as you have rightfully mentioned, culture is one of the key things. So basically imagine you want to start something, for instance, in CIS, somewhere else, in different city, and they go well, the culture is different, it won't work. The other thing is, you don't speak the language. And of course, you can rationalize. You go okay, I speak the language, but trust me, there were many occasions on which you learned the language, and they go yeah, maybe you know the language, but there is this feeling sort of a thing that you might not be able to understand because you are not the native barrier of the language, right? So, and then it goes, there's no relevant data. This is my favorite, because seems like all these people, we are like Alice in Wonderland. There's so much data around the world, but no relevant data. You can't understand. There are so many things that you don't know. So scary. We're scared to death. And of course, there's this competition thing, and of course, local regulation. Seems like we have covered all the issues. So in my background, there is something that I'm always using for business ventures, which is the philosophy, sociology, and anthropology part in my degrees, because I so much love to conceptualize. And when we receive this sort of concerns, basically this happened in different markets from our clients, and whenever this moment comes, I am suggesting, I'm saying, let's look what we know for sure, and how we prospectively can conceptualize things. Because, for instance, we can take a case study. Let's imagine we are considering, tell me a city, any city that you would like. What's your favorite city, Arthur? Amsterdam. Okay, perfect. So now let's discuss, I don't know, any perspective. Okay, I was thinking about a coffee shop, but then thought in Amsterdam context that won't be a good idea. Okay, tell me something. Sorry? Well, I fear that. Okay, tell me anything. For instance, any application, any venture, any sort of business that you would like to consider, for instance, in Amsterdam. Starting in Amsterdam, you have this great idea, you feel like, sorry? Label? What label? Music label. Okay, so you would like to have a production in Amsterdam. Okay, now let's see. Basically, these are the scariest things we have. Like we have 5 things which scares us to death, right? And of course, if we will we will conceptualize this. So these are our scares. This is 100% scary. Okay, I want to die. But we are understanding, decoding that we have the culture thing, we have the language thing, the market, which is also this sort of understanding of what is it and what data we could have. And there's this competition and regulations. So let's see what we can cover. What is the uncertainty that we can turn into certainty when we want to consider starting a label in Amsterdam? So the first of all, the concept of culture is one of the key things. And for that, we need to consider two key things that is very important for any business or any young prospective person who is considering to expand the horizon and understand lots of things. First of all, understanding culture. Guys, what is culture? Of course, there are 100 definitions of what is culture, but there is this French guy who is like really, really smart, trust me. Like 40 years ago, he has defined that culture is the habit of locals, right? Because other than that, music is not culture. Music is representative and art form, but at the meantime, culture is the habit of locals, right? So, and Emil Durkheim said the following, and which is a key thing to consider. Culture is something which is becoming less and less evident. So if you are considering that there are places in the world which still have culture, this might be a false statement that might not have a right to exist in the modern world. Why so? Because, okay, what's the opposite of culture? What do you think? What is non-culture? What it could be? What? Chaos? Localization, okay, what it could be? Any idea? Anything else? So here's the thing.
Globalization.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, whoever is there. So what is the theory of globalization as such? The other theory, or the contract to culture. Culture is the habit of locals. The other thing is the term that has been used by Marc Auger, which is called non-place, non-culture. What is the known place? For instance, this place somehow is a cultured space because certainly it is located somewhere, right? But at the meantime, this place, even you, if this is your first time in this place, there are certain things which is familiar to you from the very entry point, right? There is the security, there is this check-in, there are cameras, there is this coffee thing, and it is offered because this is a common, culture thing for a meetup, right? Which means like, all of the things that we are currently experiencing in the world. This is, for instance, a terminal in the airport. You arriving into a new city, and then you are using an application. For instance, you are using Yandex for taxi. This is an entirely new place, but you are using it. And then you are moving around and taking decisions. For instance, you are using a hotel. Have you ever asked yourself who has stayed in the hotel room before you? You would never ask it, because this is the standard experience and you would know that you would have it exactly the same in all of the places that you go. So the problem is, and the solution is for you to consider, again, less and less cultured places are remaining in the earth. So if maybe 20 years ago somebody would approach me and say, well, there is a local culture, now I am boldly saying I doubt that. Because all of the services, solutions that you might be prospectively offering might not fit into the category of local habits, unless that's a very authentic brand which is offering, for instance, a national label or a specific type of a music that is designed to highlight the authenticity, not to become localized and not become popular. This is the thing. So if you are doing something authentic, to recreate the habit of locals, if this doesn't sound very complicated to you, you wouldn't need population. If you want to be popular, that's the non-place sort of a thing. So in the world, less and less cultured places remaining, which means like you could use this on your benefit, and this theory and just this easiness that, okay guys, well, this something that is considered to be problematic is not problem at all. The problem is that what you are offering is some sort of solution to the first problem. Now let's consider the language barrier thing. Well, these are the online shopping continents, the online shopping per continent, which means like if you need language to objectify and to make your product more accessible to a specific market, if you would see the statistics, in any language currently, 30% of all the wording is non-culture things, which means like whatever language you speak, it be French or Russian or Armenian, whatever language it is, at least by 30% we are using non-national or non-local words. So all this terminology go to or take away coffee, all of the things which is connected to food and experiences are not local at all. Which means like even if you don't speak any language, you mostly understand the experiences. Why? Because the world is known place. It's not a place anymore, it's a known place. So if it's known place, even if you don't speak the language, you understand it. If you understand it, I'm not referring to the parts in which you would be doing Google Translate or anything of that sort. I'm saying that chances that you won't understand it at all, or that might be a problem, and that you might be missing something in between the language is very problematic statement again, because maybe consultants like myself would like to come in and to highlight my importance. I would say like, unless you hire me to speak the same language, you won't be succeeding in this market. But I'm saying, okay, let's be fair, this is not the case as well. Now let's speak about this competition and regulatory function. For the competition, based on the cases and from the experience that I have, we have two diverse understandings. On one, mostly people are saying that my product or my service is so much niche that it doesn't have the competition. Well, come on. Even if it's not in the same category, I mean, less and less categories remaining in the world, which are certainly vacant, and except for that, most of the time, whatever case you are considering, still there's competition, maybe not directly in that. For instance, we are doing communication strategy and PR and marketing services here in Armenia. And basically, we know that our competition is 30% in-house, because each and every company has its own marketing people, 30%. We know that 10% is Upwork, because these are the freelancer and take in the market. And then you are competing in between the 20%, right? So there is competition, but in order to understand the competition, you don't need to do this previously well-known, strategized, complicated theories. You just need to open the register in each and every yellow pages and see how many companies are registered, and then to see the functionality. And when it comes to regulatory basis, because the world is more of known place rather than a place, if you would notice, and my fellow colleague who is doing legal compliance and regulations will be able to prove this, basically all over the places, states are joining regulations, which requires and which also implies that most of the time regulatory aspect of the business or registering a business is also non-problematic at all. In all of the places, you still need register. You would need a bit of transparency and accountability, even if data collection is made varied in different countries. Still, at least in EU countries, there is GDPR and something like in other countries. For instance, in the markets that we are operating in our company, which is CIS, MENA region, and European continents, the terms might be different, but it means like if you want to label something, right, in Amsterdam, still, even if you do not know much of the things, most of the time you would know that if you do something which is strategy proven for other countries and for the general regulations, you would maybe you would even overwork on this part. Still, you would be able to cover this part as well. So what I'm claiming or what I'm suggesting is that these two aspects might be a little bit costly. Except for these two, the rest of the time, maybe in a month or two, you would be able to cover all the issues that you might be really scared to death at early point when you were considering to enter Amsterdam. So, and it also means like the last part to consider is that, first of all, there's lots of data. Data is available, and especially raw data is everywhere. The idea is that how you conceptualize data and whether you have really good labels in defining and differentiating opinion data and behavioral data. One of the key things, I believe that this is $1 million thing, then I will invoice you later on for this. Just for you to understand, even though a lot of behavioral data is available to you, and you might be using this as a professionals, still people would like that you speak with them through opinion data. Let's bring an example. If I'm asking you, for instance, how much time do you spend on, I don't know, in social media? You go like 1 hour, like basically this is your basic answer. But if I check how much do you really spend, which is like not opinion data, but behavioral data, it might turn out that you're spending more than 4 hours. But if I'm doing an advertisement and I'm approaching to you with solutions saying, well, you know, Anna, I know that you are spending 4 hours on social media and there's a solution for you. That's a problem. Because you wouldn't like to be trapped. You don't like to be, there's this feeling that you have control over myself through my behavioral data is something that works in all of the places. This is something universal. Whatever country is that, whatever culture is that, people don't like to be trapped into this. So, which means like, it's really important whenever you're entering, just first of all, get the behavioral data because it's free. But at the meantime, talk to people. Ask them, how would you like me to refer to you? And this is when the conversation point starts. Because before that, you are doing your homework and there's no need for dramatization. But at the last point, when you are doing your campaigning, saying, hey, this is our label, this is our shop, and here we are entering. At that point, you really need to speak to people. And even if you don't have the scaled, big, huge surveys on how people would like to be referred to, still you could just simply ask them, how can I speak to you, and what's your preference? By the way, there is a really cool example from here in Armenia. There was this, one of a key, food chains. They have a variety of restaurants here in Armenia. And according to their behavioral data, which means like consumers, for instance, when they're buying stuff in the bill, there is a mentioning whether this is a male or female. It turns out that more than 60% of their consumers who are buying burgers from their store are females. Basically, but okay, it wasn't burger nor only. There's this local term, shawarma, like, I don't know. So it turns out females are consuming here in Armenia more shawarma than males, according to the state. And what they did, they just brought in their advertisement, it's like their invisibility, female with shawarma. And the consumers got offended. Because even if you are aware of this data, a lot of time they would prefer to be asked about, how would you like me to refer to you? Because this is the key thing to understand, which means like you decode also this part, you might be really safe on your market entry. Lastly, maybe there are just few things that I've just put for you on slides, which means like whenever you are dealing with opinion data, please really consider that you sit down and do your homework, because if you sit down and do your homework, there's no drama. So for opinion data, you do positioning, messaging, wording, and targeting. But when you are doing behavioral data, and this is your part, by the way, to plan your market entry in Amsterdam, you really need to understand what's the specialization. What are you really doing for this label thing? What is your differentiation? Like, and it can be generally in the world. What is your differentiation? Why? What's your EVP? What is your concentration? What is it that you are good at? And certainly, what is your segment? What is your segmentation? You do the homework. You just analyze all together in one. And then we are the happy chappy thing. And also, there's one important thing when considering market entries. It's the addressable market. Because, for instance, let's consider a case of market in Armenia. Basically, regardless of how huge and big it might be seem, if you are located in Armenia and doing a global business, if you're doing something which is specifically designed for Armenia and people who are physically using it, basically, then you would need to understand that it's limited to 3 million people. And in that case, in that specific case, you are considering specialization, differentiation, concentration, and segmentation. We've been doing a project for a very special category product, for instance, glasses. And in order to understand the market, we don't need to, spend a lot, and we don't need the mystery. We are just using healthcare data, right? We really need to understand how much eye correction here in Armenia people do and globally can do, because this is a very specific thing that you can learn from any database. You just cut it off. You know that there's a percentage of people, for instance, who would be doing eye correction through medical procedures or lenses, right? Contact lenses. Okay, you cut off a really big proportion, and then whoever stays in is your market. Because from an addressable market, then you need to define your available market, and then obtainable market, and go on and so forth and so forth. So the idea, and what am I trying to tell you, is that it's not that complicated. You only need to have a systematic thinking, and you need to put your data and your ideas into a system, and then it will work. So all of the systems are available on web. You can simply Google it. And this is the social dynamics. So whatever market you enter, basically you would be seeking to get the majority, right? So either this is early majority or late majority. So because if you are, for instance, tackling Amsterdam market, basically you would like to be cool, the popular guy, right? In Amsterdam, you're walking in town, yeah, like people know you. But in order to get the majority, which is first early majority and late majority, still you would need to get the critical masses of that specific country. Which means like then a specific, and most of the time, like I don't know, I can't recall even one exception. Critical masses in all of the countries have exactly the same characteristics. By the way, late majority might have different categories depending how rich is the country, this is the first world, second world, but critical masses are exactly the same. They are more educated, they have more of economic prosperity, which means like they might be open to new ideas and early testing. And if you would like to succeed, you don't get like as many people to know about you as possible, but rather you tackle and get the critical masses first. And once they are convinced, they will be influencing others. This influencer thing, right? Like just for the record, because I love to, criticize people who believe that influencers are just people who have many followers. Influencing is really specific and important category. So you don't have to mess this. And once you are good with that, that's also a key success factor to consider. By the way, and what I love also in market entry positioning and in strategizing market entry is that usually, do you understand why we put individual thinking and group thinking into categories? I mean, to your understanding, do you see it? Well, let me do it. Do you see in here that when it comes to individual thinking, this is how you feel and this is how you think about certain things. It requires time and a conviction. But when we are speaking about group thinking, for instance, if all of us will be shouting now, saying, "Hi, let's give a try." Let's say, "Hi, can you please do it with me? I kindly ask you. Please do it." I mean, this is not a social experiment. Nobody will be killing you. So can I ask you to join me and say that I am very much interested in this topic? So I. So, okay, if we want to influence group behavior, simply we can raise awareness and we can convince people to say, yes, I am interested in this topic. But at the meantime, in order for this to be authentic decision, and in order for this to be authentically true, we require time and lots of information, because since all of you guys said, well, we all are interested in market entry, it may turn out that not everybody, not all of you might be using these tools and tactics for market entry, nor not many of you are capable or qualified for such an action, right? So it means like that even if we can provoke action for a certain period of time, and still we can have awareness when there's market entry, there's lots of noise around brands, still in order for something to succeed, we need time. 3 years, basically. Then you still need to pass through all of the Kubler-Ross change curve so that this interest, like from now on, in 3 years, will become a really genuine and honest interest in doing something. And basically, this interest would also become an action. Because nobody knows, maybe if 3% from all of you would ever use this knowledge, that's already a success. But in 3 years, if somebody also used this as an application, I mean, it becomes true. Then this is how the system works, and this is how to turn unexpected or uncertain situation into a system. There's also for you to see this classical customer journey map, and now we see the change curve in it. Because for any service, product, whatever place it is, you would really need to apply time and a bit of discipline, of course. And which also comes to prove that for you to understand, there's this modern world, it's very fast, everybody's going crazy, people are jumping off cliffs, going crazy about their products, all of the time testing and pitching and creating this illusion as if things are fast now. Things are really fast and you need really to be fast in order to get things. But in order for something to become authentically a opinion and a thinking and feeling, still it requires time, even in the modern world, because this is how the human engine works, which means like if there's uncertainty when you will succeed in any market, this is why there is the 3-year gap. Whatever is the case, if you stick around for 3 years, you would succeed. Whatever is the case, if you don't know anything about the culture, but your product is very generic, you will succeed. If you don't speak the language, but your product is something technological, then it means like 30% of active vocabulary, then you would succeed. The rest of the time, if you're you're scary, you drop a line, I come and motivate you as much as I can, and then you succeed. There are also a few things that I would just like simply go quickly. The thing is that these are the Jungian archetypes that whatever is the case, it's really always a good idea to use for any market entry, because regardless of which country you are, which place are you located, people perceive stories exactly the same. Like whatever there is a huge study that indicates that in all of the languages, in all of the cultures, there is this story of Cinderella, right? Rags to riches. You don't know nothing, and then you are lucky, and then you become a princess. Or in all of the narratives, regardless of the language, there is also this idea to journey and return. Regardless of where you go, we are always romanticizing this feeling of homeland, right? Regardless of wherever you live and you go, like hometown is the place that we have this, romantic place associations. So which means like, regardless of what is the case, regardless of what market is that, you label it, your storytelling, your positioning in Jungian archetypes and in 7 narratives, then this is also guaranteed something. And for this, again, what do you need to do? Just to think, just to sit down and think. And then also there are these classical things. Guys, by the way, drop me a line, I will share this presentation with you. Nothing that's scary, nothing that, confidential. And lastly, this is the thing. We started from the scariest things that you might be having in your mind when considering new markets, even just moving to a new place, like, will I be feeling okay? Might be that there are some, I don't know, different, they speak a different language, right? But whatever is the case, we just understood that world is non-place most of the time, which means like, regardless of you take this as a good news or bad news, I'm not here to categorize this, I'm not here to, give this philosophical insight of whether, like, what is that exactly? It means like, most of the time, what I'm hearing in business communities, that are people repeatedly recalling statements, ideas, which have passed away a long time ago. They are non-existent, which means like all of the things that you are using and saying, culture is a lot of things, and you want to understand the cultures with due respect to all of my colleagues. This is something that has not been proven anymore. And I hope that this information would be useful. And the last thing is that whenever you are doing something, whenever you're considering something, let's use this map. In one part, you are putting the place, which means like this is a very cultured something, and this place is a habitual and repetitive experience of locals, and the non-place is the terminal, is the application for ordering something, this is the taxi, this is the airport, this is, all sort of things. And then you just put your product or service into this map. How much far is it? How much right is it? And if it turns out that your product is close to non-place, guys, then go for it. If it has specifics in certain parts. For instance, it is the market. You want to sell something to monks in mountains, and this is very specific niche something. Then you just need to place it and consider it in that perspective. Otherwise, guys, you are safe. Just get stressed about this non-place thing, because this is obvious. The rest of the time, don't get stressed about market entries. Thank you. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer. If not, then we have coffee. Coffee? Yeah, you want? Sure.
Should I do in English? Can I, in Armenian?
Guys, what's the well protocol?
No, it's okay, but I want to do it in Armenian.
Go ahead.
I want to. Ու անգլերեն եմ, չես սկսում։ Ինձ հետաքրքիր է ձեր drama free entry to market Աքսել Մանդուրյանի բանով, concept-ով, հա, օրինակով։
But I'm local.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, is there any insight?
The insight is as follows. In CIS countries, which is like post-Soviet, people like to have something which is a foreign something, even if you're local. Why is it happening? Because for, I don't know, 70 years or more, 70, there was this gate, which means like all of the products and experiences that were common in more of capitalistic states were not available for Soviet countries, which is like jeans, which is labels, which is like music, and so on and so forth. And according to statistics, all of the people who are currently like the 4th, 5th, whatever generation in Soviet era, they like these foreign things. So even though the co-founder of Աքսել Mondrian is an Armenian person, it has been labeled and presented to the market as an international entry. Աքսել Mondrian now in Yerevan. Why? Because, again, in order to get a respect of a segmented population, which might be our prospective clients, we really needed to highlight this part. Of course, we are not lying that it has this European roots, because at least we have a European co-founder based in Germany who has been with us on this journey and so on and so forth. But we highlighted this aspect, not the Armenian aspect, because, hey, if I'm coming out and saying, like if I'm coming and sharing that, well, being Armenian with diverse experience, at least in many countries, and with educational backpack that I have, I could do a service for you, feels like I'm not good enough because we speak the same language. This is the key thing. And by the way, this is exactly the same for all CIS countries on which we are working, and a little bit in MENA region as well, because what is happening in MENA region? I'm this white person, like with also, sorry for social stigmas, white, you know, Oxford CU graduates, English speaking, and I'm doing exactly the same as their local consultants are doing. But seems like my hourly rate is more valued in their markets, not in Armenia. This is why, by the way, I most of the time don't speak in Armenia, like I'm public speaking, seriously. Because I feel like, because if the speech is like locals are there and I am Armenian, feels like the interest would be for more of foreign speakers. By the way, I feel like some of you can relate to this as well. Being professional in this country, doing a lot of things that might be really useful for local market, and still feeling less valued because seems like, well, you're close, one of us, so why to bother, right? There is somebody like speaks differently, has different language, let's listen to this person. Okay, so what is this? This is the cultural backpack of CIS region. This has nothing to do with the habit of locals, because there isn't such a thing as habit of locals, because everybody is drinking the coffee in exactly the same way, because coffee is not Italian something anymore, or not even Turkish something anymore. That's sort of non-place thing. That's very non-place experience as such, if this is revealing for you, and if I was able to answer to your question. Thank you. Okay, so very much thank you for your time. We will be having a great speaker whose name is Gurgen, but before that I feel like we have 15 minutes for coffee, for drinks, and I heard that there is even a bit of wine. So guys, make yourself comfortable and let's talk. Thank you.
Okay, let's start. Hi, everyone. My name is Gurgen. I'm really pleased and a bit nervous to be standing here at Yandex Armenia for the first time and sharing with you my deeply personal, a bit heart-wrenching story of me and my team going through the crisis. So the story is post-expansion. So the guys before me were talking about how to enter the market and how to expand. I will be talking about how you live once you did that. The good news is that, a bit moving ahead, I'm not talking about today about how to go bankrupt and start a new business. So we're still standing, and my hope is that that's going to be useful to some extent to most of you. Let's see how it goes. Shushan, you didn't have a slide about yourself, and you didn't have a picture on the slide. I will have two. So you know my name. By my look, you can see that I'm Armenian, but I'm Armenian by half. The other half is the mix of Russian and some other nationalities. A few kind of conspicuous facts about myself. I'm a tennis player. I've been playing tennis for all my life, like since I was 5. That brings a lot of meaning and colors to my life, so I cannot live without tennis. It's like an obsession. I travel a lot, mostly on business, since we do business in the US and Russia. That sounds strange these days, but that's how it goes. That's why if I'm not home, I'm most probably in the US doing some work. Other than that, yeah, I never planned to do any business. I was okay to be employed and was telling everyone that I will never do my business because, yeah, I will grow old in a corporation. So, but when you say never, you know what happens. You get the lesson. Now I'm a seasoned entrepreneur, and today is going to be my story. Business-wise, I finished MGIMO. There is a university in Russia, you might know that. My specialism was international business administration, so I'm exactly doing what I was studying for. After the university, I joined the company called Unilever. This is one of the biggest global CPG companies. I started off as an intern and then traveled across different departments in marketing, brand management, category management, and sales. The best experience in my life. I spent there 9 years, and I didn't have any better time in conflict, like the personal development, professional development. So it gave me so much, which will stay with me forever. One day I understood that my days at Unilever Corporation are over, so I need to start something new. And me and a couple of my friends, we decided to set up a company. We decided to create a consulting firm, which is a mix of IT, which I knew nothing about before, and so-called planning and supply chain management, which I knew little about. So we basically kind of started the company which was doing automation for anything planning in big companies. So our customers were Yandex, Mars, Nike, Kimberly-Clark, so pretty well-known companies we were doing business with. But again, this is from where Joom, the company which I'm leading now, stemmed from, and a lot of things which happened with me before I put into the business which I'm now driving. So what is Joom? Joom is a so-called planning platform which can actually plan anything you can name. So let's name, you'll say, I need to plan demand and sales. That's what we do. Some people need planning for production and finance. Exactly, and that's what Joom can do. If you need to plan HR compensation, so you need to plan, I don't know, prices in store. This is our domain, so that's what we do. Anything you can call planning can live in one platform, kind of connectedly, and help you do your business better. And we're doing it pretty decently well, because we're doing it a bit better or very well versus the competitors, because we are employing a lot of intelligence which is based on AI, ML, DL, so that helps to do planning better than any other guys and people who do this in corporations. And we're doing this for pretty big folks, like this is our customer, Unilever. Strangely, I work there a lot. We work with Unilever, with the biggest business in the US, and they're planning in June. We work with Danone. I bet you know this company. They're doing a lot of planning in June, so they kind of entrusted their complex processes to June. So we're doing pretty well. And that is reflected in the revenue which we're having. So for a small team, like having $2 million in revenue for the last 12 years is quite a success. That does look like a success, but you know what? We're in a deep crisis. So all these fancy things, all these customers, and the whole story about me being an entrepreneur, this is not exactly what I'm going to tell you today, because we are going through a very severe crisis. And that is even harder than it could be, because like several months ago, we were like on the top. We were like selling a lot. We had the team, which was tired, but still inspired. We had sales and so on. And the higher the point you are falling from, the more difficult it is to be in the crisis. And today my story is to share with you the insights which I'm still gaining. So we're not yet over. So it's not the successful story how we thrive, because thrive in the name of the presentation is a bit teaser for the next one. We are still in the crisis. But why I decided to share like today the story with you is that we are close to a bit stabilizing. So it's fair for me to speak about that, though we're not over yet. How come things went that bad? I kind of pulled together several insights and learnings which I think are the most relevant for now. There are much more which I can call out, but we are pressed for time, so I'll share just 5. And let's start with this one. This is the biggest pain I have for now, and it sounds like the higher the upcoming jump you're going to take, the harder you should train before. My bet was that when we were doing well, when things were going well, I decided to plan and then to execute a couple of big disruptions. First, we decided that we need to split with partners. It's always hard. Like many companies go through this. You used to be one team, but then you decide that it's better to separate. So I was doing the kind of split with partners. So we were separating the companies. And the second disruption which we planned was that to jump in a project which was 5 times more complex than we ever had with the same team. And you know what? Did we have a break before these disruptions? Like how long it took us before one finished and another one like started? We didn't have any break. So I mistakenly started 2 big things happening at a time. And that was killing us, because for a small team, you cannot really do big changes at the same time. You need to face them, first of all. And the second thing is that you need to really prepare yourself. I was a bit, I would say, inspired by the goals which we were having, by the future revenues and the new clients. I was a bit like flying in the clouds, so that I forgot to think about realities. I forgot to prepare myself and the team before these big jumps. And that paid off negatively to us, because we ended up being in a crisis, burnout, a lot of people leaving, and you still need to survive. You still need to support the customers, which are really big guys. You cannot mess with them. So my plea, my learning to everyone who will ever plan any big things for your companies, please be prepared. Don't do this at a time. Give yourself time to devise, then plan actions, and then execute. And never ignore the kind of universal truth that you cannot run a marathon without being prepared. You cannot do this. The same in business. So that's my first one. The second one goes like risks can strangely happen all at once, but most of them could be mitigated in my case. Strangely, like shit happens, like we all go through crisis. And really, like a lot of books say that how you can like go through crisis and come over difficult times. But no one told me that several risks can happen at a time, magically. And then once you have it, it feels like the sky is falling. Okay, you can manage risks one by one, you can sort things out, you have always problems. But once everything happens at a time, it's really hard. And my kind of problem was that I was too strategic, I was too visionary. I was kind of ignoring some basic things you need to do as a businessman. You need to be disciplined. You need to have like the hygiene well set in the business. You need to like preempt the risk. You need to foresee them. That's not me. Without that, all your fancy goals, all your material goals will never materialize because you will fuck up the operational part. And the more you manage the risks, the easier it is gonna be for you once you go into crisis. And everyone faces the crisis. There is no business, I don't know anyone who would say, my business has been always flying. No way. Every businessman, every person has crisis. So, and the whole thing is how well prepared for this. So try to be prepared. Don't ignore the operational part of your business. Don't be too strategic. Come a bit down to earth. That's not working anyway. Yes. The third one. We humans are funny. And because when things are going well, what we do? We piled up new systems, we buy subscriptions, we spend money on teams, we flush money here and there. We're kind of wasteful. When we have money, when we have success, like sales are growing and so on, and only when you face difficulties, what you start to do? You start becoming efficient. You start cutting costs. And it's hard, because you'd better not create costs before. But we never do this. We never think that, mostly, we never think that it's going to be hard times ahead. And for me, for my business currently, the biggest indication that we are going to a stable mode is that we are finding ways and areas where we have inefficiencies, where we cut unnecessary costs, where we cut subscriptions, which we've been having for years, and spending thousands of dollars on them, but they're not that needed, you know? And kind of my record for anyone doing well in business, you'd better start looking for efficiencies before you have problems, because when you're in the crisis, it's much, much more difficult. Next slide. Hey, come on. Guys out there, can you help me? Someone help me. It's not going back and forth. Okay. Perfect. Back, forth. Naturally, I'm the person who kind of admits that it's okay to ask help. Like, I do not object, like asking for help, it's okay, but to be honest, I never do this. That comes not from business background, but naturally, and that was my problem, because when you face difficult times, you kind of try to sort things out yourself, almost single-handedly, and that's okay for an entrepreneur to do like all things at once. But that's not possible. That's not possible because you will never be able to sort out every single problem which you have. And the deeper the crisis, the harder it is to be just one-man show. It's never a one-man show. You have a team, and my problem was that I was trying to protect them from the reality. I was trying to show a bit pinkier picture to them so that they do not like leave tomorrow. That was not right. When I realized that when I was feeling bad, I kind of gathered the team and shared with them objectively everything which was happening in the business. And that was mind-boggling. So that was mind-blowing because they were so motivated, they were so mobilized to go an extra mile, take action. They took commitments and got accountable for anything they were accountable for. And that was a huge insight for me. And back then I realized that when you ask for help, it's okay. So please ask, seek help. That's not the indication of your weakness or that you are slow or you're imperfect. That's how you show your maturity. So be always asking for help in good and bad times. And the last one, kind of deeply personal. This is about, I don't know how we will end up, whether I will come next time and say we thrived, or I will say, yeah, I know how to close businesses, whatever. It is the most life-transforming experience I've ever had in my life, and it's the same for my team. And my conviction for now is that my ego brought us to this crisis, because I was so visionary. I was so thinking about the material goals. I was so much ignorant of some non-material stuff which motivates myself and my team. So my commitment to myself, still being in the crisis, is that I will take control of my ego eventually, sooner or later, and that will not lead me anymore to the crisis which I'm in currently. That's the process. Ego is really strong, but at least I'm like flashing the light on this, and we'll try to cope as successful as possible. Coming to this, I hope we will do well. And still in the storm, we are trying to steer the ship to some milder, calmer seas. It seems that it all came down to just enjoying the waves rather than winning the ocean. So I'm not trying now to go out of the crisis as fast as possible. I'm trying to enjoy the hardship of being in a deep crisis. And that is something which gave me an additional meaning and the motivation to continue for me and for my team. So lastly, my plea to you is enjoy the waves, and thanks a lot for being here and listening to me. That's it. Your questions, if any.
So you didn't mention why you collapsed from December till now, so I want to know more details.
Yes, yeah, several things happened. So as I told, like at the very beginning, so several risks just happened. We didn't sell enough to sustain the business. We had serious problems in the project where we had to invest our own money to stay, because you cannot fuck up the non, because you're fucked up as a business. We were having a difficult time in splitting the companies and separating. I thought naively that it's going to be going well, but risks happened. We even had a conflict between shareholders. You cannot ignore it. And all these things happen within like 6 months. And you find yourself in a situation when everything negative which could have happened, happened.
Reached some point that you were supposed to scale, but the company wasn't mature enough, and other things happened in order to keep the accounts and everything. You start to invest from your own.
And we're starting expanding markets-wise, not being well prepared, not being focused. We started spending money on some expensive teammates we couldn't afford. because you were kind of a bit misled by the future perspectives. It looked on the paper that we're going to be growing. It looked on the paper that the investors are really inspired to invest into us. That didn't happen.
So one last question. If you had your current knowledge and you were in December last year, what action would you take?
It's a great question. First of all, I would be a bit more merciful with the team, because I was a bit materialistic. I was burning the team for some big goals, but everyone has their own pace, and it happens that not everyone is capable to take several jumps at a time, right? Second thing is that we were not efficient. We didn't have some basic processes. I didn't have an accountant team in place, well fit and equipped to support us. We didn't have a process of handing over knowledge for how to run projects and zillion of other things. It looked like we were fit, but the crisis showed to us that we, as I told you, were into the sky. We were really baffled by the success, we were baffled about the perspectives, so we didn't do any hygiene. And now, before any further move, hopefully we are through this pretty soon, I will not do any big shift before I have processes in place, I have efficiencies in the business, I'm not spending any unnecessary money on stuff we don't need, and so on and so on. And by the way, I didn't give myself and the team some breaks, because you're running, you're rushing, you have money in front, like luring in front of you, but you need to take breaks. Otherwise, you find yourself as a burnout person. So a couple of thanks.
Thank you very much for a very honest and very open story and tips. My name is Datev, and my question is 3 parts, actually. I mean, perspectives. You mentioned about the processes and the operational parts. You also mentioned about the strategic part, visionary, and then the part when you need to make money to keep everything going, because you cannot just stop. I mean, you need to fix the tire while the car is running. Having these all 3 at the same time, when having all the crises and the risks happening at the same time, how would you balance not to compromise the strategic part, neither the operational part? Because setting up processes takes a long time, and first you need to test it, etc. But the current projects cannot wait to ongo while you're setting up the project. And you're also getting opportunities for the big goals. So how to choose, like in a limited time and with limited resources, both financially, team-wise, and also time-wise, how to balance all those 3 to make the right decision that also can nurture your future and not end up into going after the commercial thing and then running away from your goal, that why you actually started it all. I think
that's a great question. I would answer that in my personal experience, what I'm doing now, I became more humble. So I'm more humble to like modest results. I'm more humble to just not becoming a unicorn in 5 years, maybe in 7. That's still okay. I'm calmer in finding new customers. I'm not trying to push everyone to choose us so that we start a project without having a team. That's how we used to do. So I slowed down because I realized that it's not necessarily you need to grow and deliver on your business plan. Maybe it's the right time to pause, to slow down, to get your team fit and let them rest, for myself to reflect how kind I am to this business, to the team, to fix the processes. Maybe it will take a year and we will not be selling, because we can sustain without selling. That's not what I dreamt of. I was dreaming of like selling and having great business and many more millions. But the period is like this experience is showing to me that it's not always how you wanted it to be. So maybe you need to slow down. Maybe you need to like fix the basics. Maybe you need to give the team some rest and break, reassemble at the team, and then start hustling again once you're ready. So I would now not go into big project unless my team says we need to do this. Before it was different. I was choosing project. I was like inspiring everyone, saying we will do this, and they were saying yeah, we'll do this, and then we burn out. Now I'm more careful and mindful of how my team feels, whether they are ready to further hustle and accelerate, or they are in a state that would better kind of retrieve and a bit fix things before we go to some next big moves. So my answer to you is I chose to slow down. Time will show whether I'm right or not. Maybe it pushes the goal of becoming a big company with great services and customers a bit further, or maybe that's the way to do it faster than I planned. We'll see.
Thank you for sharing your insights. Usually people share the things at the success point, not the crisis point. And speaking about the crisis, I just wonder, were there any alerts for you that crisis is coming, which you ignored?
The whole wall with red flags. That's the short answer. Yeah, a lot. They were coming from our customers. They were saying, hey, were you really fit to enter the project? We were saying, yeah, of course. Those were coming from my team who actually started the project and then slowed down heavily and lost motivation because it was too hard to run such a complex project with several streams and so on. Insights were coming from the P&L. I was not that versed to look at them, or let's say I didn't have a discipline. Of course I know my P&L, but if I were more curious, I would see that we are going to have more costs than revenues. And I can name 10 plus other red flags. I chose to ignore them, and now I'm paying the price. That's to my point that you need to be on the lookout for some risks all the time. Don't be baffled by the success and the future gains and the praises you get from other teams, investors saying to you, you are great. Always get yourself back to the ground. Challenge yourself to see whether I'm doing it all right. Sometimes you need to challenge whether you're going the right direction. Maybe it's not your business. Maybe you kind of convinced yourself that that is what you're going to do, but at the end of the day, you should have been doing something different. I talked to many people who went through many crises, and they were saying to me, it's okay to close businesses. This idea for me, I don't accept it, so I cannot even think about it. More and more I kind of live in closer to it, but the guys say, yeah, we closed and we reopened. We kept the team, we kept the code. We changed the name, we changed the geography. We started off in Central Asia and we then reopened in Middle East and so on. So sometimes you don't need to die for the business you love. Sometimes it's, I don't know yet, but sometimes it's better to close and reopen than lose yourself completely. Hope I answered.
Hi, thank you. Hi. I want to ask you about your team. Do you believe that person who burn out on your project can also recover on the same project? Or you need fresh blood because mostly people recover when they change project, company, etc.? What is your experience?
I have most of the examples which I have is that people survived and even staying within one customer because we have just two. So you cannot, there is little to choose from. Strong people can. Those people who have experience, have backgrounds in different companies, who share your vision and purpose, because if they just working for money, they will not recover in the same environment where they lost themselves. So they can only stay because they believe in you, they believe in some non-material stuff which you are kind of promoting. If it's just down to making another project, they will not most probably kind of recover, and you'd better change. But strong people do.
Hi. Hello. So yes, no one wants to ask any question. May I? May I ask a question? Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
because I'm a volunteer, I'm not a participant, that's why.
That's perfect.
Yeah, so you mentioned back there about efficiency. But efficiency brings with it also burning out and quality cuts. How would you comment on that? Thank you.
That's true. I worked in Unilever for 9 years. In Unilever, when there was a new kind of global goal to deliver more profit, all the markets had to look for efficiencies. And like everyone started so-called value improvement projects, when you need to a bit lower the size of the bottle, you need to change the recipes, but without losing the taste. For big companies, it's indeed true, because they're already very efficient. You cannot be Unilever, Mars, or Yandex and do not have like a process in place, because you have verified a lot, you have tried a lot, and you know how things work. For smaller companies, it's more towards really cutting what is unnecessary. We don't have anything which is hard to cut. I'm not cutting people, I'm not cutting their salaries, I'm not getting rid of the office, so it's about just looking for things which need to be cut. So the answer to your question, it depends on the size of the business. Big corporations do have to cut quality in most of the time, because I worked there, I know how things are arranged there. For guys like us, which costs we have? We have people, and that's it. We don't have machinery, we don't have offices, we don't have cars. So when you look for efficiencies, you either cut people, or you look for small things which are not placed well. So I think we are not losing quality, or we are not losing ourselves, but yeah, I would put it like this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think we're wrapping up, right? So I was the last one. No one to hand over.